I'm Pastor Marcus Jackson, and I live in Syracuse, New York. Involved with the Poor People's Campaign because it was my understanding that this Poor People's Campaign was or is a continuation of Martin Luther King's 1968 movement, and that our people still struggle with the same issues today as we did then.
This city really hit hard by the 2008 economic dive, or has it been really hard for a while for people here?
I think it's been pretty hard for a while because there's no jobs. There's no, we're living paycheck to paycheck. There's no money. This is a former Sears building, which, as you see, is boarded up. That was an old, that's a Goodwill, what used to be a Goodwill, thrift store. Even that's boarded up. Some years ago, I worked for Chrysler Corporation. I hated the job, but the money was good. I made good money. I was making, I think, like $14 an hour working, in manufacturing. That company first started outsourcing to other U.S. states, and then eventually it had left the United States and went to Mexico. We lost Carrier Corporation. We know that Carrier Corporation made air conditions. It employed lots of folk. They left. The pay at Burger King, McDonald's now is good. It's $15 an hour, and I think in New York City up here it's $12.75 an hour. So it's not so bad. But there's no future in that. How long can a 43-year-old, a 45-year-old, a 50-year-old stand on his or her feet all day? We know that poverty is the root cause of violence, and so our community seems to be inundated with sporadic acts of senseless violence. It does something for a person's self-esteem when you are qualified for work and you want to work and you can't find work, or you go to get public assistance and every 3 months you have to report, you have to, what we used to say, put people in your business, go down there and tell them all your little deep, dark secrets. It does something to a person's self-worth. And once you demean a person, you rob a person of his or her self-worth, you take away that person's value. When a person loses his or her value, they fail to recognize or see the value of another person. When your life doesn't mean anything, another person's life definitely don't mean nothing. Our emergency here in Syracuse has been and is unfortunately violence, murders, homicides in our streets. It's our young people who are dying. That's sad. That's a whole generation of folk who are being wiped out. We all are affected by this because we're all interconnected. And what affects one of us affects all of us. One of the things that we do, or I do personally, is I work more as a community chaplain, working with an organization called the OGs Against Violence. And what we do is we go out and we do vigils for those persons who have lost their lives to the senseless violence, as well as marches to remind folk that violence not only robs us of our youth, but it robs us of value in our communities. We had a community forum where we invited the public to come together to be able to vent. And I think that that's one of the first steps, is being able to get that anger out. Look, I'm mad, this is why I'm mad, you're mad, this is why we're mad. Get that out, cry, complain. Then we're able to say, okay, now what do we do? And I think that when we recognize that we have this shared interest, we're able to plan collectively and jointly and move forward from there. We know and make our demands heard. Because while I'm over here raising hell and you're over there raising hell, nobody's paying any attention to us. But when we join together and raise hell together, someone's gonna pay some attention to us. They're gonna wanna quiet us down. They're gonna give us what we're asking for. And we're not asking for much. We're just asking for the right to live. There's a system that's in place, that's been purposely put in place to keep us divided and thus to keep us in our silos, keep us separated. As long as we're arguing and bickering with each other about the little grains that fall from the table, then we're not able to focus our energies together and destroy the systems that keep us divided. The haves have it and they're not sharing. And it keeps folk dependent on a system that we know is not fair and does not provide equal access. But if we focus on what unites us, what joins us together, then we see that we have more in common than we have in uncommonness, right? So then we join our collective voices together and we become that unmovable force that the systems are afraid of.